Hello everyone. Today I have the most incredible guest, Manny Wolfe. I'm just waiting for him to come on live. So please share in the comments how your days are going, where in the world you're from. And as soon as Manny gets here, I will add him to the broadcast. I've had a great day today. Hope you all have had a great day too. Let me just see if I can get Manny here. Yes. Hello, everyone. Please show us some hearts. Please tell me where in the world you're from. Manny's just coming into the broadcast, guys. Bear with us 1 second. Hi, everyone. Hi, Bev. Hi, Gilly. I can see it's just trying to add him into the broadcast, so just give us 1 second. Let me try Manny again. The joys of Facebook Live and connecting. Hi, Manny. Welcome to Brilliant Speaker.
Thank you.
Everyone watching, Manny is an international best-selling author. He's also a professional speaker and the creator of 1000 Speakers Academy. Welcome to Brilliant Speaker. Thank you for giving us your time, and you're going to share your expertise today. So I'll jump into the first question, Manny. Can you share your story and what led you into becoming a professional speaker, international best-selling author?
Sure. Yeah. It was, it really all came out of a need to express myself and a frustration with the environment that I was born and raised into. You know, I I was talking at 9 months, and I've always had a bit of a thing for language and communication. And it got to a certain point where those close to me, those in my orbit, really sort of tried to sort of tamp that out of me. And I think really, in a nutshell, I just got determined. And I said, I'll show you. We'll see, we'll see who can and can't do this. And so it become evidently clear right away that I was going to be a speaker. And more so today, I'm a trainer. I am more of a coach of speakers now. I've found that I have far more passion for that. The author piece was something that I never thought I'd be. And I didn't write an expert positioning book. I wrote my life story. So it's a different kind of author, right? It's like you really have to get down into it and do some serious creative writing rather than just relating what your expertise is. And that was a function of my wife just one day telling me, you've got to write these stories down. It doesn't mean anything if you just keep impressing me with them. You've got to put them. She told me, you've got to put them in a book. And I said, okay, I will. The rest is history.
Well, I watched you on a live, as you know, the other day, Manny, and you told a great story. And that's why I wanted you to be my guest today, because I know you know how to tell a good story. And I can really relate to where you said you had that determination and you thought, I'm going to show everybody. I have definitely had that experience too, of having just a real strong determination. So I think in this industry, you do have to have a strong determination. So I can really relate to that too. Yeah. So that brings me to my next question. Why are stories so great to listen to, and what makes a great story? It's a big
Okay.
one.
So it's actually two questions. That's how big it is.
I want to get my money's worth.
Yeah. Stories are great because they speak directly to the way that all brains, all consciousness of humans seems to like to learn the best. This seems to be without debate. We learn through comparison tools, metaphor, simile, analogy, etc., etc., etc. And when they're done wrong, they're sort of thin and one-dimensional, but when they're done right, they allow us the opportunity to suspend disbelief enough that we can absorb valuable, deep lessons. So why are stories important? Stories are important so that we can say to people, this is like this. And when you do that seemingly simple thing, at its most simple, it's just a simile. You know, at its most complex, it's a many faceted allegory, but it allows us to suspend disbelief. And when done well, we automatically, without effort, without conscious thought, without anything, we automatically put ourselves in the situation. When we put ourselves in the situation, we're literally activating different parts of the old nugget than we would if we're trying to analytically absorb knowledge, right? And so storytelling is powerful because it bypasses that, and that's a slow way to learn. Storytelling allows us to learn experientially. And so something fascinating happens. Even if you can't articulate exactly what you learned, you can still feel it. So intellectual learning doesn't provide that. Intellectual learning, the most maybe outdated mode of it would be rote memorization like you see in schools. You can know it and not feel it at all, right? You can know it and not being able to put it to use. So when you can feel it, even if you can't know it at the top of your head like that, you can still activate it. You can still, like, it changes your life, right? It gives you the opportunity to see, think, do, feel, and be different ways. So that's the power. Now, your second piece of your question was what makes a good story? The beginning of the answer is those comparison tools. You know, strategic, artistic, thoughtful use, well executed use of metaphor, analogy, simile, allegory, and on and on and on. So thoughtful, strategic use of those comparative tools. Now, it goes a lot further than that. And this is where I can maybe really add some value to whoever tunes into this. What people miss is how to make those comparative tools. The first thing they miss is the comparative tools. And we know what those are now, right? The second thing they miss is how to do them in a powerful way. So you need things like a powerful structure. The hero's journey is by far the most overused and the most misunderstood. And let me talk just briefly about that for you, Stephen, and for your audience. The hero's journey alone is not sufficient to forge connection between us and someone who's actually kind of in our proximity, a real person. So let me say that again. The hero's journey is not sufficient in and of itself to create, in marketing terms, know, like, and trust with a real person. It does work very well for literary characters or characters that we sense we're removed from. It's a big distinction. It's very important to understand. So what you need is well, the way I teach it is you need a pinnacle story and a back history and then a hero's journey. This gives us moment where the hero's journey started, which would be when something dramatic happened in your life that shifted you. And then it goes back and gives context for why that moment was important in the first place. That's where the bonding occurs. Let me just make sure people can see my hand gestures here. That's where the ability to connect occurs. Then when you take us on the hero's journey, we're right there with you. We've suspended disbelief. We want to go through everything you tell us. It's very important to make that distinction, because people think that the hero's journey alone will create bonding, but it doesn't. Next level down is your language. Language, language, language. Massively important. You need to know how to use language to create tension and release. Just super quickly, and jump in anytime if I'm dominating this, by the way.
It's your interview, you can dominate away.
Okay. Super quickly, if you are all full tilt all the time, we will tune you out. Likewise, if you're all laid back, soporific, and detached the whole time, which I'm creating two ends of a spectrum here of intensity, we'll tune you out. But if these are the top and bottom of the spectrum, and you go like this within it, we'll pay attention, right? Contrast is everything. Contrast is essential. So tension and release is a way of thinking about how do we put little pieces of emotional contrast in the story while we're building up to, obviously, the big piece. Next, you have to do what I call offering rich detail. Now, specifically what I mean by that is sensory rich detail. This is details that evoke at least 2 of the 5 senses. You don't have to burden your entire story with an overabundance of detail, but it's an art. Let's say this, it's 80% art, 20% science. You have to know when you want to open that story up so that the people can emotionally walk inside of it. And there is where you use sensory rich detail, because details that evoke the 5 senses bypass the executive functions of the brain and go right to the parts of the brain that house the big 3: creativity, imagination, and emotions. Now, as a speaker, you will have experienced, either deliberately or by serendipity, when you've done this and felt the audience connect with you, right?
Yes, yeah.
Feel it, man. and then, correct me if I'm wrong here, but once that connection is established, are you infallible from that point on?
It does make you feel at ease.
Yeah, it literally transforms the moment into something where you can do no wrong short of breaking that connection. When we have connection with the audience, deep, powerful, meaningful connection, the rules go out the window and we don't have to rely on techniques anymore. And that's the power of it. So now we've got the connection. They're with us. They're 100% invested. We have to know how to do what I call revealing universals through your specifics. Hang on to your hats, boys and girls, because this is the big one. This is the one, right? You've got to be able to talk about your specific situations, instances, things you want people to know and feel in a way that builds conceptual bridges to the broader themes of human experience. If you stay in your specifics and you don't allude to how it connects to something everyone can relate to, you run a very high risk of losing people's connection. But if you're strategic and you're intuitive and you can feel into it and you know how to build those bridges, then when I tell my story, which is very unique, you feel like I'm telling your story. There you have it.
You could not have answered that any better, Manny. You gave so many tips and wisdom there. And like you say, every conscious person understands and relates to a story. I like what you said about contrast too, having contrast, getting to people's emotions and getting into the little details. You really picked up on some amazing points. I've only just touched the surface there. Please, everybody watching, please can you show Manny some hearts? He's sharing all his wisdom today. Please can you share the broadcast? If you want to ask Manny anything, type it in and we'll try our best to answer any questions. That brings me to my next question, Manny. the speaking industry can be hard for new aspiring speakers or established speakers that are feeling stuck. What tips have you got for speaking success?
Well, are we defining success as the ability to get gigs, or the ability to define success for me before I can answer the question meaningfully?
To turn speaking into a business that pays.
Great. Okay. So there are a lot of different kinds of speaking, and there are a lot of ways to monetize speaking. But the fundamentals, the things that you have to know in the beginning are, how do I find speaking engagements, or how do I create my own events? So you got to know these pieces. Creating your own events is far too much to go into here, but I will allude to, you can start with something as simple as a meetup group that you nurture. You know, that's a time-tested, proven, paid content, usually, strategy. Just start a meetup group and watch it. Pay attention to it. Nurture it. There's one. In terms of finding speaking opportunities, where I see most people getting stuck in the beginning is they perceive it as a chicken and egg situation, where they say, well, I need to speak in order to get good promotional content, but I can't create good emotional content until I speak. Promotional content, sorry. So they feel like they're stuck between the rock and the hard place. Let me tell you guys, if you're really committed, just Google how to make a speaker's one sheet. Start there. If you really feel, by the way, a one sheet is just a stepping stone. It's not gonna keep working for better and better gigs. But if you really want to go past that, get creative. Start going to the colleges, the churches, any place that has a stage and seats, where you can, even if you just do it guerrilla style, you got a friend with an iPhone, and you just jump on stage and start talking, get that footage. Then do it yourself, or have someone else for you, make it into a 90-second to 2-minute reel. But what you want, what event promoters and event coordinators and decision makers are looking for, is your energy, your message. They'll tell you that they're looking for these other things too, but the fact of the matter is, if they're scrolling through 25 applications, a lot of it is going to be that first impression, right? And you, Stephen, you know, to be true, right? It's have something to show them. Once you've got that, you just pound the pavement. Like, I mean, if you're really serious about getting started, you reach out to junior colleges, you reach out to your local organizations, your chambers of commerce, whatever it is, and just start letting people know you're ready to go speak to their people.
Again, that is great advice. I definitely know the importance of creating an event, Manny, because I hadn't spoken when I started a year ago. So I created my own event, put myself on my own stage, got other speakers to stand next to me. And I know the importance of a show reel. So I got a show reel on the day. I got photos. These are all things that you can use again and again to try and get more speaking gigs. So creating your own events, getting show reels, video footage is really, really important. So some great tips and wisdom there, Manny, and I really appreciate, and I'm sure the audience will take lots from that. Please, can everyone share Manny some hearts? He's sharing all his wisdom today. Please share the broadcast. If you've got any questions, do ask them and we'll try to answer them. Lynn Hope Thomas is saying, great questions, Mark, thanks. So that brings me to my next question, Manny. I talk about self-leadership and transformation. Can you tell me what self-leadership and transformation means to you?
Yeah, transformation in the realm of people means the same thing it does in any realm. It means to take from this and make into that, right? Where we get bogged down is we bring our egos into the experience, and our egos can convince us that it's somehow so unique to us. Transformation is just change. It's just change, right? It starts with a thought. It ends with an action. So, I mean, that's a very, very simple, very brief kind of an answer to it. And the other half of the question was self-leadership.
Self-leadership.
So self-leadership. Okay. Thank you, Lynn Hope Thomas. Always nice to see that kind of appreciation come down the line. I feel like self-leadership is knowledge of self applied well to a meaningful focus. Now, how do we do that? I think maybe that might be the question, right? So stories, as we talked about in the beginning, we talked about stories as an external thing, a way for me and you to connect. Interestingly enough, stories have most of their power internally. Self-leadership, to my mind, and in a way that fits neatly in with my specialty, is being able to recognize, master, and then change the stories we have so that we can transform into the vision, the avatar of ourselves that we see ourselves as, right? Because transformation never happens without a picture in mind. You've got some idea who Mark wants to be, right? Who Stephen wants to be, who Joe wants to be, who Marcy Novus Levine wants to be, who Lynn Hope Thomas wants to be. You've got something, and that thing creates the dissonance that makes you want to push, pull, whatever, right, to create that change. All of the current version of you kind of resides in the stories. And so there's the external piece of storytelling, and then there's the internal piece. Now, here's what's really interesting to me. The internal piece of storytelling, while I would argue far more powerful for transformation and leadership, you can take the same tools that I shared for external storytelling and apply them internally. Once you realize that that you can author your stories, and your stories absolutely dictate the way your life plays out, it becomes a fascinating truth that now we're talking about stories as a function, self-leadership as a function of the stories we tell ourselves and the power that they have to shape our realities. Did I stay on topic there?
Well, I think you put that beautifully, Manny, better than I could. I like how you said, even though it was basic, every thought and then action, because everything starts as a thought, then action. Yeah. Well, those two things, that's what creates. So even though you said it was basic, I think that was really powerful. And I like the way you take self-leadership and it's about changing your own story. I think that's so powerful, Manny. Lynn Hope Thomas is saying, love the transformation, self-leadership. It's all about growth. Very right, Lynn Hope Thomas. Everyone, show Manny some hearts. He's really giving us some great content today. Please share the broadcast. If you've got any questions, do type them below. That brings me to my next question, Manny. What's new for Manny? What are you working on right now? Yeah,
so right now for me, I'd say the big thing I'm working on is nurturing my own Facebook community, where I can get to my people and my people can get to me. It's called the 1000 Speakers Academy. It's a private group. In fact, you know what? I'll put the URL in just in case anybody says, "Oh, I gotta be part of that." Obviously.
That was my next question, Manny, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm a bit slow typing this, so bear with me, listeners, watchers. There we go. Okay. So yeah, it's about
Perfect.
that. And I've recently decided that I'd like to be able to create an access point for people who are starting and maybe don't have the thousands of dollars that great coaching often costs. You know, because I remember when I was starting, and I was absolutely coachable, but didn't have big dollars to invest. So what I've done is I've created a membership community as well, where you can get access to the coaching and the training at like, I mean, crazy reasonable prices. That has been a much bigger project than I anticipated, but it's really coming along. It's really starting to bear fruit, and so that's my whole focus in the immediate future is going to be to get back out and start doing like 2 and 3 day live trainings. That's more so than doing keynotes or speaking. Where my passion is teaching and training. That's where I get into flow. You know, when you set me up with these great questions, that's where I like to live. Is answering questions like that and teaching in that way. So I actually don't do keynoting. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I don't go seek it anymore. I'm far more sort of impassioned by helping others to get there. It really connects with me more deeply. So that's really my whole focus right now. Is like, you know, let's find the people who are ready to learn at the level of the free group. Let's teach them what they're ready to absorb. Let's take the people who are ready to invest a little bit of time, energy, money, and commitment. Let's teach them a little bit better, all the way up, of course, to the very, very big investment stuff, the high dollar stuff.
Well, it's great that you're following your passion, and it always makes you happy when you're helping others. And it sounds like
Yeah,
you're on a great journey, Manny. I've really enjoyed interviewing you. My last question for tonight is, can you tell the audience how they can connect with you, how they can follow you?
sure. Yeah, so the 1000 Speakers Academy Facebook group with the number 1000, and I've put the shortened URL into the chat. That's the only way I tell people now. You know, just go in there, get into the mix, get into the community, see if you like it, and if you do, you'll have plenty of opportunity to connect with me through there.
Well, everyone connect with Manny. He's an amazing guy, great storyteller, great speaker, an international best-selling author. Manny, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to seeing what you get up to next.
All right, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you all soon.